What's that going on right back there too? What is?
I know. Well, we're going to investigate this a little bit.
You know, it never fails.
Airplanes.
There's always some type of an airplane coming over. Anytime you want to be quiet or just listen. About 6 to 8 weeks ago, Mark and I had found this structure out here, and I wanted to come back to it. Got the map with me. Did some looking at the Google Earth, and this is the reason why I wanted to come back. Got to do some more measurements. I forgot to do that when I was here last, and we'll go to connect the dots to see if there's any more meaning. And what it is that when I had the triangle laid out on the map, this structure right here was pretty much found very close to where the concept of how Orion feeds into the triangle. So we're going to have a look. I'm going to do some whipping out some compass and taking some azimuth readings, and then we're going to go with it from there. Also, very interesting. Also, there's some stuff going on back here as well. A lot of leans. This is basically the word two swamps connect. We'll look around and we'll see if we see any sign in the area. So let's go have a look. Okay, what I need to do is I need to be able to give you a quick tutorial so you have a little bit of background, so you have a better understanding of what I'm showing you in the video when it comes to what's really happening on maybe the bigger picture here. So what I have here is I have basically a Google Earth snapshot of the green swamp. This is the overall location right here. And I got a snapshot, a little clip here, overlay of the winter triangle on Orion, the Orion constellation. And what we're going to do is we're going to blend them. I'm going to make an overlay right here so it becomes a little bit transparent, so you have an understanding of what I'm talking about. So before I get started into the video here, I'm going to let you know right now that there's at no time will any reference point that I will identify as it being an actual real location on the ground. Okay, it's just to give you an illustration of how I do some of my work and how I come to find these structures that are out in the swamp. All right, so here we go. What we're going to do is I'll give you an idea right here, and we're going to scroll the bar right here, and as you see, you'll see the overlays blending in color right now, and they change. So you have an understanding of what we're fixing to do right here. All right, so let's go ahead and expand it some. All right, now I'll slide the bar a little bit to left over here. Okay, so I got the scroll bar right here, so I just want to give you a quick little rundown what it's going to look like as we show you the green swamp map, and as I move it more this direction, you'll be able to see the overlay right here. And the overlays are just really, they're stacked on top of one another, and it gives you this transparency look. All right, so what we want to do, we want to find a little bit of a middle ground right here. Okay, to where we can still see the star mapping behind it, and we should be able to see some of the green swamp mapping right here. All right, so I want to point out that everybody really needs to look at the vertex correlation videos so you get the full background of what we're talking about, because this is kind of more of a part two subject what we're talking about right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on some reference points right here. And this was the winter triangle that's basically discussed in the vertex correlation video. And we had a hunch that possibly if this was really what was going on, that there could actually be other spots that are basically correlating to constellations that might possibly be on the ground. So as I identify these reference points, and I'll click them right here, and this is the one for the winter triangle, and this is Orion. So it becomes very clear to you now how you're able to take this tool right here, and for me what I really use the overlay on actual maps, not necessarily on the computer. But you can clearly see now how you can identify actual locations on the earth and plot them out on a GPS so you can navigate and go to these actual physical locations, go to these areas, and you can look to see if you can find any structures. And this is what we've been doing whenever my time does permit me to do this. So I looked at this and I said, let me just highlight right here. So I looked at it. Let's put the triangle back in place. And I said to myself, I said, well, what if I'm just wrong? And what if it's, what if actually on the Earth that it could possibly be over here on the left side of the triangle, or maybe on the other side of the triangle over here. So what I said was, I said, well, I need to draw out the constellation on every angle of the triangle, and so that's what I did, and what we found was something pretty interesting. So I'll go ahead and erase it, and we'll go back here, and we're going to back to the maps where I can switch it right here, and let me go ahead and dock it. Alright, so I got to click on this part right here. There we go. All right. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to take it, and like I said, draw Orion on each angle. So what you have to do is you got to come over here and you got to rotate it. So as a triangle, not a triangle, but a circle has 360 degrees, so we want to rotate it just 1/3 of it. So we're going to add it to 120 degrees, and that will basically flip our triangle. And we'll undock it and make it go large again. And we'll grab the bar. That way we can see the overlays coming in. Alright, so as you see it right there, you see the triangle has been flipped, and Orion has also been moved as well. And we're going to need to mark them again. Okay, here will be Orion right here. 1, 2, 3 for the belt, the shoulder, and the other shoulder, and then the other stars, that would be the triangle. Now in the video you're going to see what I found was something. Mark and I had found a TP structure that was actually on the ground pretty close to one of these reference points. And like I said, now these reference points are just, they're just educated guesses based upon trying to get it as best as you can to some type of scale. We don't know until you actually go on the ground and start actually looking. What I found was a TP-like structure that was very close to this particular point right here. And I want to say actually it was more or less like, I want to say about 200 yards actually from where it really was at. It was very interesting. So we went out and we had a look at it, and I neglected. We were maybe running late that day, and I just neglected and totally forgot to get the azimuth readings on the trees. But I did notice that some of the trees were very interesting to me, and I had a hunch that the angles of the trees when they were built into the teepee were actually possibly pointing in particular directions. So I went back out not the following day, but I went back out maybe a month or so later, maybe 6 weeks later, and I took the azimuth reading, and it was very interesting what was found. And so this is the reference point that, like I said, where we was at, and I took an azimuth reading of the largest tree in the structure, and it came up to be 146, 147. And possibly it was even 148. Now you have to realize I'm shooting a compass and trying to take a reading looking up into the treetop at the apex and down this tree trunk. So you're going to try to just find your way in the center of it, but you'll have a degree variance left, and you'll have a little bit of degree of a variance to your right. And you're trying to just get it as best as you can. So I came up with about 147, and like I said, we could be off a degree under and a degree over. So that will put you in the range of 146 and 148 degrees. What I found was this. Went out there and measured it, took the readings, and then basically I came back and I plotted it out on my Garmin mapping system, which is pretty interesting mapping, because you can take all the mapping on the Garmin maps and you can basically convert them to magnetic. Because actually, we're thinking this is actually, living creatures that are on the Earth, possibly, and that all things are done in relations to be able to sense or identify something to do with magnetism. So that's the reason why I had my Garmin maps set to magnetic angles, not necessarily grid. But as the blue line illustrates that coming from Orion's foot was measuring right over a reference point to where the center TP, this very important TP structure, was located, and it practically hit it dead on the money. And when I looked at it, it came up to be 148 degrees. Is what it came up to be. So that's what we're talking about in the video, in the overall scheme of things, and the significance of it and how important it is, because you can't just go out there and just find structures and make them fit to your mapping right here. You just can't find things on the ground and say, yeah, this is when we found one or that. In my opinion, if it's really truly part of the overall picture right here, it will correlate somehow and either reference another point or give you kind of like a clue or an indication, or it will point to something. There'll be something, I think, that will give you the indication. And the indication was that big, humongous pine tree that you'll see in the video. So in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about. So I want to go ahead and get to the video and stop wasting your time. So I know I can get very long-winded on that, but that's what we're talking about. So I want to thank you for your time, and enjoy watching the rest of the video.
Unfriendly looking.
The cedar.
I have to really say this is
It's a
unfriendly
connecting
looking.
cedar swamp.
Huh?
It's a cedar swamp.
Yeah, it's kind of looks unfriendly. That's for sure.
Squishy too. And we'll have a look around in here as well, without getting bit by something.
Yeah.
That tree came from that. This one came from that right here.
Wow.
Looks pretty interesting.
I might have to close the camera down a little bit because I have to climb over some stuff.
So,
Yeah, watch for snakes.
there's a lot of stuff going on back here. Got some, I don't know, these, I don't know, they look kind of like something to do with lilies or something. You see how they're all pushed down? Right there when you come up
Well,
here.
when I come to your side, then I'll look.
Have a look at that because they're all pushed over right here. That's like something's been bedding down right there.
I gotta climb over my first log too, so.
I mean, the only thing we're missing is water.
Well, you might want to look for gators too.
No, no gators. I don't see any gators.
Yeah, but watch for snakes then. It just looks so unfriendly in here. And I have a vibe that it's just not a good one. Let's put it that way. I don't know what it is.
Cross over right here.
Craziest stuff.
There's a lot going on out here. There's a lot going on.
It was the only one that was moving.
That's where I want to go right here. I'm walking off course already.
Okay, that's what he said was pushed down. Let me see. Oh, I can't zoom in so quick. There we go. That's what he's talking about. Let me see. There. I just don't like being here. I don't know what it is. Never stopped. I still have it on.
Okay, you can film.
Ooh, look at that.
The thing is that when you're walking through these swampy areas, right? Your eyes have to do a constant watch where you're walking, a constant scan, left, right, up, down, left, right, and your eyes are constantly panning and scanning, and you have to glance up every now and then. But what you'll do is that you'll see how these roots are right here. You see how these roots are? Them roots, when your eyes first will come across them, a lot of times you'll think they're a snake right there at times, because that's how the snakes really do lay and behave in the swamps, and it'll make you a little unnerving, but you just have to get used to it because that's just how the tree roots will
Look at
grow.
this, the tree roots just going up right here.
Yeah.
On that one.
Where? This one right here?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just part of the environment, and our environment here is our environment. You know, I get a lot of requests a lot of times to, have get-togethers or outings, or do I mind hosting things?
Yeah, campouts and stuff, but it's brutal.
The environment that we Bigfoot in is extremely harsh and extremely unforgiving. Luckily, right now, we're not being bit by mosquitoes, and I'm not even hearing the mosquitoes, and that's amazing in itself right there. But our wilderness areas are inhospitable. It's just, you're not going to like camping in this stuff unless you really want to get freaked out at night. You come out here at nighttime and stay in these swamps, and you're going to be unnerved. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, you see how this tree would have fell right now?
Wow.
Alright, hold on, let me show you. Okay, this tree right here, this cypress tree right here. I'll get a better footing. Alright. This tree goes straight up in there, but yet there's a branch. There's a branch that goes around it. You see what I'm saying? It would have had to, this tree would have had to have came from this angle in order to land in there. So that branch right there, you know, some people might say, well, the branch could have snapped and the sheer weight of the tree could have just forced itself in there. Maybe so. Maybe. I'm just pointing it out that it's very interesting. And these two are leaning right here as well, going in there. And they also would have been heading, you know, towards the apex. But I want to get some readings right here, so I'm going to do that. Good Lord.
It's huge. It's really, I can't even get it in all in one.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, don't tell me this.
What is it?
I had a hunch it would be close, but I need to check. That's why I brought this. I had a hunch that it could be close. Close is one thing, but you know, you gotta verify. All right, so let me see. It could be a degree or two off because it's, you know, it's slightly bent a little bit, but a hundred. It's not quite 150, 140, 146, 147, somewhere around there. 147 maybe.
Okay.
Right about there. You know, I could be a degree or two off because of the wiggle and the shake. Yeah, the TP came out to be, roughly speaking, about 143 degrees. 143 degrees. I shot the azimuth at 148. You got to do your declination diagram too, because you convert magnetics to grid. That's awfully close. What did I say, 143 degrees?
No, you said...
Yeah, I looked on the map,
yes.
143
yeah,
degrees.
Yeah, but over here, 148 or 47.
44, 45, 46, 47.
48. Give or take. That's what you said, 147, 148.
So when you do the declination diagram and you add those 4 degrees to it, it puts it like right on the money almost.
That's some crazy crap.
You have to add 4 degrees to it.
Yeah.
That's weird. I came here and I, what did I say, 147, 148 degrees.
Right.
I measured out on the map, 143 degrees. Count them up, you know, I mean, what, a degree or two off. So actually, when you measure it out on a straight line distance, maybe the target area is maybe off just a few hundred yards. If you actually drew it out on the map and looked at it, that I can't show you the map, but that's weird. I mean, Bigfoots aren't running around out here, people with maps in their hands. They're not running out here with GPSs. This was not built by people. This is not built by people. This would take machinery. Am I saying to you that a Bigfoot pushed it over? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just merely saying it is pretty doggone close to intersecting where the other TP's at. And I had my hunch that this would be close. I had my hunch that this would be close. Alright. That's how the apex looks right there. You can see the big log came down, hit the fork in the tree, and you know, something has came along in the aftermath of it, you know, which is that branch right there in the center of it all, right there on top of it. You know, that could have been just typical weather related, who knows. I'm gonna scratch my hand. But you know, we saw that in the other TP structure as well. We saw what looked like something had been thrown into the apex and kind of constrained and confined. Okay, right there.
If you really think about it.
Funny how.
One log
Funny
is
how that
underneath.
just makes a little triangle right
You
there.
know,
It's
that
interesting.
one log is underneath, then comes this big one, then comes a smaller one from the other side on top.
Yeah.
See, everybody can see how it's pushed in between and on top and everything. Here, this is from another direction. It's a little darker because I'm going against the sun.
Could be just storm damage too. Alright, that's 5 right here. 6 feet, 7 feet would be right here. Okay, 8 and 9. So I would estimate 9 feet. So that is that's not normally typical what we see. Normally we see about 7 feet, in the realm of 7 feet. So I would say that more than likely could be just the wind.
Storm.
Yeah. If you're realistically thinking that there's something on the ground pushing stuff around and manipulating objects on the ground, and the theory is that they're just aligning things to stars in the skies, you are going to have, to be fair, you're going to have a tolerance that will be off. Chris, are you reaching? Are you crazy? Nope, not reaching, not crazy about it at all whatsoever. I'm just connecting the dots, people, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm looking into it and see if it makes sense. That big old pine tree pointing down is pointing in the direction of the teepee, and that's just it, plain and simple. Yeah. I'll be doggone, there's a little bit of a fence right there on the side of the road. There's two snaps, both going the same direction, and that looks like something's been going through there, don't it?
Yeah, in the middle.
Yeah, looks like something's been going through there. Now I'm gonna look on the opposite side of the highway, and I'm not seeing. There's a log on the opposite side of the highway. There is a log on the opposite side of the highway, but it don't look like there's an obvious trail. But there is something that marks the opposite side.
Yeah, there is a fence. Okay,
Yeah,
now I see it.
Yeah, the state put that fence in because it's along the roadway to keep animals from crossing the road.
Huh.
That's
It
the
looks
reason
like
why.
there's a little trail.
Oh, that fence has been there for years, probably. But yeah, it looks like a road trail to me.
Yeah, it does to me too. Huh.
Animals wouldn't be going through there. I mean, they would hit the fence. I mean, unless they just jump the fence. I mean, I think it would discourage them. And on the opposite side, right across, there's a log right here. Okay, and possibly a little bit of an opening going on right there. So we're just connecting some dots and looking at some stuff.